Hello there everyone, and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner with me, Lydia, in my little crafty corner. So today I'm going to be sharing with you how I've created these cards. They both use the same products, but we're going to stretch them a little bit by using the little bit of a different colouring medium with each of the two layered dies that we have here. So to start with, I am going to be using the layered floral elements die, and I just love all the dies in here. They're so whimsy and floral and beautiful. We also have the layering guide on the bottom of this die set, so you can use this to create your elements. For the first card, I'm going to cut all of these beautiful little dies out of some solar white cardstock. The reason why my cardstock is a little bit smaller than usual is because I've cut this to 3 inches by 5.5, so it can fit through my little mini blossom machine really easily. So once I've popped all of these little dies into position, I have used a little bit of washi tape just to keep them in place, and I am using all of the dies in the set. Once I have them onto my little panels of cardstock, I'm then going to die cut them using my mini blossom machine, and just look at all these beautiful little die cuts that we have. So I've placed these onto a little piece of scratch paper. Reason being, I'm going to be using my artist markers and I don't want to go through to my work surface, so all I've done is added a little bit of white paper underneath me before I start colouring. So for these, I have used, for the first one I did use some caramel toffee, then I moved on to the coral berry, then I used some warm sunshine, and then this one is the buttercream. I'm then going to move on to the other flower, and this one I've used some ocean waves, and then for the base I'm going to be using some of the desert night ink. I'm then going to colour in the little branch. This one I have used the paper bag, and I'm going to use some of the forest glades for these base layers of the leaves. You can mix and match. You doesn't have to use these colours if you don't want to. It's completely up to you what colour you used. So for the tops of the leaves I have used the frayed leaf, and for the centres of the flowers again I used the paper bag. So for the smaller flowers I've coloured them all in the same colour, and this is the frosty pink, and for the little berries I've used the ruby red ink. So for the rest of the little flowers, the leaves, I've used some evergreen and then some forest glades for the leaves. So the evergreen I've used for the branch bit, and then I've used the frayed leaf for the other bit. Once all my colouring's done, I then removed all of the tiny pieces, all the landlocked pieces in my die cuts, and then I'm just going to stick them all together using some wet glue. The reason being I'm using the wet glue is it gives me a little bit of time just to line these up properly. Maybe if I needed to wiggle them around a little bit, it does give me that time before it sets. And then once it does set, it's nice and firm. So as you can see, I'm using a little pin to get rid of the landlocked areas in some of the die cuts because I couldn't get them out with my fingers, so a little pin does work really well to get out those tiny little pieces. So as you can see, I'm just going along through all of the pieces and then adding the coordinating bits on. So for this little branch piece, I found that using my pin really helped me out a little bit just to move them around to get them in the right place. Once I've finished with those, I'm then going to move on to the second card, and I'm using a paper from the Reflection scrapbook paper, and this one is just so beautiful. It has 3 large flowers on it and lots of different colours. So as you can see, I've cut this to 3 inches each, 3 by 6, so I can run them through my mini blossom. And as you can see, because I have them at this size, I can see what colours that are on each piece, and it doesn't distract me from the whole picture, which is very pretty. And I didn't really want to cut up, but I found that this was a great way to use it. So as you can see, I'm just placing the dies where I want them to be. So I'm picking a colour, what colour I think will go best with the die cut, and then placing this into position before cutting them all using my mini blossom machine. It didn't take too much time to cut these out, and they look really pretty. No colouring involved, they're already coloured for you as you've used some beautiful patterned paper. Once these are all nicely cut, they look very pretty. I'm then going to stick these together just as before. I'm using some of the wet glue that I have, and I'm just adding these into place. So for the centres, I've kind of gone for yellow colours on the pattern paper. For the flowers, I went for the pinks and the reds, and then for the leaves, there's lots of green on there, so I could do them in various shades of green, and it gives me kind of a watercolour look without actually having to watercolour the images. I would say that using the pattern paper to cut out the images does save a little time, so maybe if you're a little lost on time, this one would be a great way to go. For the cards, I'm just using some simple card bases, so these are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I've stamped on a sentiment using the More Than Words stamp set using some permanent black ink. So as these are die cuts, you can really play around with the images, how you want them to look before you do stick them down. And I do find that I do this with my die cuts. I really play around with them before committing myself to the way that I'm going to stick them. Once I'm happy with how they look, I then add some adhesive. For the flowers, I've used some foam tape, and then for the smaller pieces and the leaves, I'm then going to use my wet glue as before. This is going to keep them nice and stuck down to my card base, so there's going to be no moving around. So for some of the images like the branches and the leaves, you may find that you do need to give them a little bit of a snip just off the little branch bit, just to make them fit nice and snug underneath your flowers. You don't have to. If you don't want to, you can have them longer, but I did want them a little bit shorter on my cards. So again, with the flowers, I'm adding some foam tape, and then the leaves and the smaller flowers I'm adding with the wet glue. Once I've finished this composition, I'm then going to move on to the second. So the first one, I did have the flowers top and bottom of the sentiment, but this sentiment's a little bit lower down, so I found that it would look really cool if I had all of the elements right above this one. Again, you can really play around with these. You could cut them out twice if you wanted to and have lots of different flowers, or you could create a whole background just using these layered floral die cuts, which would be very, very pretty as well. So here are the cards complete. I really do love how they look, and how they look so different just using a different colouring medium. So the bolder one is with the artist markers, and this nice subtle soft one is using the pattern paper. So I really do hope that you've enjoyed the video and that you like the techniques as well. It would be great if you do create something like this. If you could share, it would be great for us to look at it as well. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you don't want to miss out on any videos that we do upload to the channel, it would be great if you do subscribe. And if you want to watch any more videos, there's a couple more here to watch at your leisure. Again, thank you so much for watching again, and I'll see you again really, really soon. Bye bye.